The following is a presentation of the Match Talk Podcast Network. It's time for the ODU Wrestling Monarch Matchcast, a show dedicated to all things related to the Old Dominion Wrestling program. On the web at monarchmatcast.com. Now, here's your host, three-time National Wrestling Writer and Broadcaster of the Year, and 2004 ODU alumnus, Jason Bryant.
Another edition of the ODU Monarch Matchcast. This time, Steve, I'm in your office, Norfolk, Virginia. Happens like once every 2-3 years I get down here, actually in the room. How's your holiday, man?
Holiday was good. I see you brought all the snow with you from Minnesota.
Yeah, it looks like it. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to bring any of the heat that's going to melt it back. So you lose this snow in about a week. I lose it in about April. So
yeah, fair trade-off.
Fair trade. Speaking of, you were up at the Midlands. That was not enjoyably. That was cold.
Oh, that was horrible. That freaking. And I know why those Midwest kids are so tough. Freaking. That was some very minus 20 below zero weather. That was not fun.
It was not even for me. Who's you can. I'll be honest with you. You don't get used to it. You learn to tolerate it. But coming off the Midlands performance, some guys got some valuable experience. Some guys performed as well as expected. Some guys didn't perform as well as expected. What was your general takeaway from the 6 athletes that did compete at the championships?
We thought we could have done better than what we did. It doesn't really matter that we have a young team because, in 60 days we do have the NCAA tournament. I thought we left a lot of matches out there that we could have won very easily. From a lot of these kids' perspectives, they felt as well that they could have performed better. It's not necessarily about the wins and the losses. At the end of the day, it's about the performance. So, we're trying to build off of that, from a technical, mental, and physical standpoint to get better in all 3 areas. So, the good thing about this team is since we are young, they will get better each week, but, time's running out, on us. We only have 9 events left, with the duels being, one of those events.
Coming off that, a couple kids went up to Lock Haven as well. A lot of chance to get the guys that are red shirts or not seeing a whole lot of time in the lineup, and an opportunity for guys that are in the lineup to get some more wins the way the qualification situation set up.
Yeah, our guys that weren't able to go to the one event in Chicago, they were able to go to the other one, Lock Haven, Pennsylvania. So, they definitely gained valuable experience, our starters as well as our backups and those kids that, chose to wrestle and attach in the tournament. So, all in all, I thought it was a good 2 events for us to be competing in, because basically our kids need mat time at the end of the day. The more mat time, the more the better they're going to get, and the more situations we put them in against different teams, the more prepared they're going to be for the NCAAs at the end of the year, which, is the ultimate goal.
Picked up a tight dual meet win over Eastern Michigan, 1918, amidst the snowfall here. What's that type of win do? There were some situations where there were some good performances, but overall you thought you were favored in the dual meet. But what did you and the staff come away with, as a feeling about how the guys performed?
Well, I thought that the guys that, collected the W's wrestled pretty well because, 4 of the 5 wins were bonus points, which is great to see anytime you're collecting bonus points. They scored a lot of takedowns, set back points, and they were attacking. The majority of our guys, I thought we left maybe 1 or 2 out there that we probably, could have very easily won. 49 Carter had a crazy match with his Eastern Michigan opponent, and we've been wrestling that kid for years. And, that was like a 14-12 match. That was kind of crazy. They lost in overtime. But, we're looking at it from the standpoint, win's a win. It wasn't pretty. I think some of our other guys could have wrestled better than what they did. I think we had 5 or 6 guys wrestling very well. And, we got to turn around, some of those other 3 or 4 weights. But, again, for us, it's getting everybody on the same day to compete up to their ability level. That's basically what we're looking for out of all 10 weights.
Coming into the Virginia Duels, you've always said, even though it's not on the date as a home match, it is like a home match because it's 20 minutes away. You got a lot of alumni that live on the peninsula, a lot of wrestlers that are coaching teams across, and you got a lot of alumni that are coaching high school programs that are competing alongside the Monarchs at the Virginia Duels. This event, you circle it. This is a chance to showcase the program against some nationally ranked teams this year in a pool with a rapidly improving Campbell program coached by Kerry Colat, and of course Virginia Tech ranked this week 9th in the country. Thoughts on the pool? Thoughts on the Duels?
As far as the Duels, shoot, I can remember the very first Duels. I was filming it when my brother was coaching OD, the very first one. I think it was like in 78 or something like that, 77. But I've been at the Duels as a high school athlete, a high school coach, a college athlete, and a college coach. So I've seen it from 4 different angles. But this is like an event that I think your non-wrestling fan would attend because, it's everybody knows about the Virginia Duels in the Hampton Roads area. Not necessarily if they're, 100% wrestling fan, but your non-wrestling fan would attend this event, and, it's crazy action. You got 10 mats going all at once, high school and college teams competing at the same time, nationally ranked teams on the high school and college level, nationally ranked individuals on the high school and college level. So the event, is a home event for all practical purposes for us. It's only 15 minutes away. As far as the draws, I think Campbell was, a team that we wrestled earlier this year. They wrestle extremely hard. We're going to have our work cut out for us in that match. Any match for us, we have to work for a W with the guys that we have. That's just how it is with our lineup. So we're looking forward to that match. That's 9:00 on Friday morning. And then Tech, obviously, they're ranked 8th or 9th in the country, whatever poll you're looking at. This will be our third top 10 opponent. And we obviously want to wrestle the best teams in the country, and this also gives our individuals opportunities to improve their resume because Tech has, a lot of nationally ranked kids, and we haven't wrestled Tech for a couple of years, so we were looking forward to, we're looking forward to the opportunity to be able to wrestle, Tech again. So we're looking forward to the scraps on Friday, basically.
So from a recruiting perspective, the event was founded really as a way for. First of all, is the guys on the Peninsula Wrestling Association hosted to put their superstars in front of the college coaches. And since it's grown to that the whole area, the whole state really benefits. Can you think of instances where you've sat there and their kid maybe been a little under your radar and then you see him at the Virginia Duels and next thing you know, he's signed to wrestle at Old Dominion?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of very good high school athletes that are going to be competing in this event. And, obviously, you can use it for from a recruiting standpoint because you get to watch them right in front of you. You don't have to travel on the road to watch them, or watching them in person is always best. Even though a lot of the recruiting is done by the internet, watching kids on tape. This is a great opportunity to be able to see them in person. Obviously.
We're about to talk to Daryl Thomas, who is the new addition to the staff. We haven't had a chance to introduce him to Monarch Nation as yet, but Daryl spent time as a head coach at Lincoln College. He wrestled at the University of Illinois, spent some time at conference rival Northern Illinois. What was it about Daryl you saw that you think he would have been a good fit for this staff?
Well, I got high recommendations from Carl Perry, coached him in college. He wrestled me at Great Bridge High School as a national champion at Illinois, as well as Mark Johnson.
Perry's on the wall over here in case you were wondering.
Yep.
Yeah, Carl Perry.
Yep. And Mark's back there behind him. As well as Mark Johnson, who's my college coach, assistant coach at Iowa, and took over at Illinois. I obviously sent Carl out to Mark. So I talked to, both Carl and Mark. They had a lot of positive things to say about him. And, I knew that he's a little bit under the radar because, maybe he didn't achieve the goals that he'd set up for himself in college. But I knew that, he had taken that JUCO program at Lincoln from basically the bottom to a 4th place finish, which, was not an easy thing to do in year one as a coach. So I knew
because at the junior college level, you've got to recruit and put them on the mat. You only got 2 years with them. So it wasn't, you don't have time to build and develop a JUCO. You're like, okay, let's go now.
Yes, and he did a great job recruiting, and he's very good with social media. And, in this year's recruiting class, we got 5 Illinois kids coming in. A couple of, I think we signed 8 or 9, or he got a lot of those guys. He was on them and made it happen. So recruiting wise is phenomenal. As far as in the room, technique wise, very, very good.
So basically, ODU is like Southeastern Illinois State with all the kids from Illinois on the team.
Yeah, I believe we got 6 now. And we're gonna have another 5 next year.
They must like the beach.
So, yeah. But
back to Gerald, it's one thing, and I've asked around about him too. It seems like he's got some people just have it when it comes to a mind for coaching. It's not, it can be learned, but some people just have this innate way to talk to kids and talk to people. What have you seen about him in just the first couple months that says, yeah, this guy's, as long as we got him here, that's great, but he's going to be a great coach down the line somewhere?
Well, I think he's a good fit for us because, you got, he's pretty calm, so the kids feel comfortable coming and talk to him about, any of their personal. Absolutely. It balances me out. And he's very calm. And so kids can talk to him about off-the-mat situations as well as technically. He really has an eye for the sport. He runs the majority of our practices. I've handed over the reins to him. I feel very comfortable with him. And he can analyze stuff on the spot, So, I think he's a total package from a teaching standpoint. He's really developed these kids in not just their lightweights, but every weight, comes to him, ask him for advice. He's a great recruiter. And, basically he's been a head coach at the college level. So he knows everything that goes into it, from fundraising to marketing. He can see stuff that your typical pure one assistant cannot see.
And Chris McCarty's on staff. He's been on staff here and been around the program as 2-time All-American. What's it like to see Chris now kind of working with you instead of you kind of yelling at him all the time to get his hips up?
Yeah. Well, he's doing a great job. Right now he's kind of looking at the MMA world too as well. That he's focusing on. So I think that he does a great job. He's able to get on the mat, daily with pretty much everybody in our team, from our little guys right on up to to the 74 pounders. So he's a great workout partner. Of course, he has an eye for technique as well, and just has a great working relationships with everybody. He can kind of relate to them, a lot of our guys, because he's able, he's closer to their age, and he's just fresh off the mat from competing.
As we alluded to earlier when we were talking to Coach Steve Martin, now talking with assistant coach Daryl Thomas, Illinois native, here in the wonderful, sunny, warm beaches of – oh, wait, I'm sorry. What happened? What's the snow? What's this all about?
Yeah, before coming out here, I heard 2 inches was the max, and we got hit with like a foot of snow.
I remember I think the last time we got hit with this much snow, I want to say might have been in the second grade. Wow. Like, it's been that long, because I remember – we got 18 inches and 18 inches within 3 weeks of each other. But the thing is, it didn't go. The first one went away, and then here it comes again. So it wasn't like 36 inches stacked up. So Trust me, this is a one-time thing as far as at least. Second grade for me would have been 1986. Yeah, it's like 30 years between apocalyptic snow here. But let's just talk about. What first drew you to Old Dominion? You were a head coach at Lincoln College, a junior college that had a really good wrestling tradition. Yep. Put a lot of wrestlers as in Division I as All-Americans and as coaches. Frank Beasley is actually a coach at George Mason. He was a Lincoln guy. Dave Clem was one of the best heavyweights. He was the AD there, and the former coach. He was one of the best heavyweights we had on the Olympic ladder. Jeff Blatnick beat him to make the Olympic team. So, look, good tradition, home state. You kind of leave your comfort zone to come out here to the beach. Why?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, leaving the comfort zone a little bit, because I know a lot of coaches in Illinois, obviously, and been in Illinois my whole life, and we had a really good year, kind of got the program going back in the right direction. And, Steve reached out to me, and I kind of told him it had to be the right situation, but always in the back of my head and in my heart, always knew I wanted to at least give myself an opportunity, to at least put myself in position to be a Division I head coach someday. And, it just felt like, after meeting with Steve and talking to Steve and kind of really sitting down and talking to my fiance and stuff like that, and really looking at the opportunity, it just felt like it was the right next move. And so obviously my daughter lives in Georgia as well, so it was a little bit closer to her, so that made things a little bit easier. So that was kind of the main thing, was just put myself in position to try to reach my ultimate goal one day. So,
how soon did you know you wanted to be a Division I wrestling coach?
It was pretty soon after. I think I remember actually a vivid moment. I was finishing up at University of Illinois. I graduated, packed my car, was moving back home for a year to coach at my high school. And as I was driving, I was just kind of think all athletes probably get this feeling of just like, what's next? What's next? Like, what's going to fulfill me now after being done? And I was just like, I knew I wanted to stay in the sport. I didn't know at what capacity. And I had the opportunity to go home and coach. I could have went to a Division I school right out of college and coached, but I kind of it was a little bit of the comfort zone thing, and I knew I had an opportunity back home and could do some great things there. I wanted to give back to the program that gave so much to me. But at the same time, I was in my comfort zone still. And then after coaching a year there, I kind of still had the itch to be in the Division I atmosphere. And, after that, I luckily had an opportunity to go coach at Northern Illinois for a couple of years. And from there, just kind of now I'm here. So.
Did you worry about when you left Northern Illinois to go to Lincoln that you might never make it back to D1? Because sometimes you don't see a lot of Division I guys that are coaching at the smaller divisions because, save the handful of Iowa guys that are in Division III. Sometimes you can, to use the term typecast, like, well, it's small school. It's not the Division I. Were you worried about that at all?
Not really. And to be honest, I guess let me backtrack a little bit. It's never been about, is this the next move for that?
Right.
I think I just looked at what was the next best move for me and my family and myself, and just career-wise, what was the next best thing for me. And at that time, I wasn't looking at leaving, but the opportunity presented itself, and I looked at all angles, and it made the most sense. So, and then wasn't looking for this opportunity. It kind of presented itself, and I looked at all angles, and it made the most sense, and just went with it.
I had the opportunity the last couple of days to spend with Randy Lewis and Dan Gable while we were down in Texas doing a wrestling scene, and spending 18 hours next to Dan Gable and just basically forced to sit next to him and Lewis. You hear a lot of things, and you ask a lot of questions that you normally wouldn't ask initially. Of course, when people know about Dan Gable, they know about his loss. Yeah. They know about his world championships and his record, but he always talks about how that loss his senior year, his loss in the national finals, drove him to be a better athlete, a better coach. You didn't accomplish your goals as a Division I athlete at Illinois. How much does your lack of success, and I hate to put it that way, but it's what it was in your mind, how is that driving you to be a better coach every day?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think for me, obviously not reaching my goals, it really stung. And, I think I know some of my shortfalls and where they were. And now as a coach, I try to navigate guys away from those areas and try to preach to them, the areas that can hinder you, from reaching your goals. Cause it's such a small window. It's such a small opportunity. Everybody wants to be a national champ, but there's so few that actually, that actually reach it. And, every little thing can pull away from that, as far as whether it be social, whether it be personal life and certain things like that. So, for me, I knew I was around some great people, great coaches, great athletes. I was wrestled with Jesse Delgado, 2-time national champ, BJ Futrell, should have been a 3-time All-American.
Should have been, yeah.
With the injury, Jimmy Kennedy, Carl Perry was
Jimmy Kennedy's a bulldog. That guy's a bulldog. There's so many and great coaches, Jeremy Hunter, Carl Perry. So just so many people I've been around, and I know how close I was, and I kind of know the areas where it kind of set me back, and won't go into those things, but I know those areas, and so I know what I'm capable of. I know the type of mind I have as far as wrestling, and it's just a matter of now letting the athletes and the people that I work with let it show through them. So we get the perspective from Steve and Coach Dixon a lot in the last several years we've had this program, but for somebody that's new to the Monarch Wrestling family, what is the hardest thing about Division I wrestling for somebody that may know a little bit about wrestling but may not be a full lifer in wrestling like we are?
I think it's probably dealing with failure early on, because most kids come out and they haven't lost a whole lot, and then they come into a Division I room and they're getting their butt kicked every day, and it's hard to know that you're doing the right things even when you're not seeing results. And one guy I'll talk about a little bit is Keenan Carter. He does everything right, our 49-pounder. He does everything right. And right now he's so close. He's had some close matches with, Deacon from Northwestern, and he lost a tough match to Kyle Springer that he should have won. He's so close. And sometimes for kids, it's so hard for them to see past where they are right now and understand that they are doing the right thing. Is just sometimes it doesn't come on your time. It comes, when it's supposed to, and just believing that it's going to happen. So, I think that's the biggest thing, understanding that failure is a part of it. And even when you're doing the right things, you're still failing. Your time is coming.
Use a kid like Carter for an example, who was not the most accomplished coming out of high school, but has made some tremendous leaps.
Yep.
Where do you think athletes like that see the biggest amount of improvement?
Just in the time that they put in. The time that they put in, I think eventually it's all gonna come to a head. It's just kind of the nature of the sport and just how it is. Eventually he'll get his big moments and things like that. It's just, you see it so many times. Even a person like myself, he reminds me so much of myself because I was a 3-time state qualifier, never placed in the state of Illinois. Was in the quarterfinals a couple times and lost in the blood round a couple times to guys like BJ Futrell and Chris Dardanes and Nick Dardanes. Those are my losses at the state tournament. Shows a little bit of the depth in the state, but he reminds me a lot of myself and how he's had to really work for everything that he's gotten. And so anything that he gets is going to be well deserved. And I'm just excited to be along for the ride. Just
for some context, if unfamiliar with the Illinois wrestling, the 3 guys Gerald mentioned are all on the ladder for the U.S. Olympic team in some shape or form. They're in the top rankings. But when you look at the mind of being a coach, we'd ask Steve that some people have this natural ability to be a coach, whether or not they were athletically gifted or they were just short of their goals. Everybody I've actually talked to about you and not knowing you prior to this season is like, what is it about Daryl Thomas that makes him a great coach? So what is it about Daryl Thomas that makes you a good coach?
For me, it all starts with relationships and building relationships with the guys, and because ultimately they're not going to listen to anything. Like you said, I didn't accomplish my goals. Why would you listen to me without having a relationship before?
Real quick, is that hard for you to deal with a coach, with somebody that may have great talent that's not getting it done? It's like, well, what do you know? You never did this.
Nah, not really. Because like I said, they build the trust first, and then when they're taking whoopings, then they listen. So, but no, you build the trust first, build the relationship, and then after that, they'll run through a wall for you. So,
look at the landscape of Old Dominion. This is a school I left here in 2004. I started here in 1997, so you guys can figure out the math. But there's been a tremendous change in this campus. There's been the addition of football and what that brings on Saturdays. This used to be a parking lot looking outside where we're sitting right now, this wrestling room. This used to be a parking lot. There was nothing here. This was added on. There's been support for the wrestling program. There's been support for athletic programs. When you look at a school like Old Dominion, what have you learned about this school since you've been here? And what do you see in it that says, yeah, this is a good place for kids to come to wrestle, but also a place to kids to come get a degree?
First off, as far as the wrestling side of things, it's already been done. I mean, there's guys that have been All-Americans. There's guys that have been to the tournament. Guys that have been in the national finals. So that's easy to.
89 winners too. We don't want to.
Yeah, Elite 89.
We got the smart kids too.
So all those things have been done. So that's easy to sell. And then when you get a kid on campus, it's just the area. For me, is what's easy to sell. You got. There's almost something for everybody. You got the downtown, you got the rural part, and then you got the beach. So it's kind of hard not to find a reason to fit in here when you come and look at it. And then obviously the academics there's so many good programs. You got education, you got business, engineering. All those programs are top 100 programs. So that stuff's easy to sell. What else are they looking for?
What did you know about Old Dominion before even coming on campus here?
I didn't know a whole lot. I knew just the wrestling side of things. I didn't know a whole lot. So when I came out and just talking to Steve throughout the process, he was just basically laying out a roadmap like, this is what it is. This is what we have to offer here as far as from a social standpoint, from the wrestling standpoint, from an education standpoint. This is what the area is and all that stuff. He kind of painted a picture that I could understand. And but like I said, I didn't know a lot. And then when I came out here, I love the area. I love the area.
Obviously, this isn't the Big Ten, so football Saturdays in Champaign are a little different than football Saturdays here in Norfolk. But what are some things just about the campus sports atmosphere that you've seen that the athletes they get out of this that may be similar to your career at Illinois, and maybe I guess obvious more compact and condensed that maybe is probably suitable for different athletes?
Yeah, I the first thing you notice is there's an emphasis on athletics from the administration. So the athletic programs are all fighting to strive for excellence and success and things like that. But I mean, you got the same things. You have the tailgating and all that stuff for the football games. They're sold out. What is it, like the last 7 or 8 years?
All of them.
You know,
years.
Every game.
9 years.
Every game sold out. I haven't had the chance to get to a basketball game or anything like that yet, but I guess they've got a pretty good coach and
good tradition.
And good tradition. So really, just the biggest thing is that there's an emphasis on being successful from every program that starts at the top with the administration and trickles down. Each sport thriving on each other, and when you see one sport having success, you want to have success too. So I mean, you got field hockey, you got soccer's in the national tournament this year, baseball top 25 program, football won a bowl game last year. So just everywhere you look, there's success. So.
Now, as we go into the Virginia Duels this weekend, Illinois hasn't come out here for some time. Were you on the team at Illinois last time they came out here?
No, I wasn't. We went to Journeyman Duels when I was on the team.
Okay, because I remember it was we wrestled Illinois here a couple times in the past, and I wasn't sure if the time frame overlapped. But what are you looking forward to from the Virginia Duels? I mean, Steve's already talked about the performances coming off the Midlands and Lock Haven and Eastern Michigan, but this is a different format. It's multiple day weigh-ins. It kind of simulates tournaments without being a tournament. You're going to get at least 2 matches, 3 matches a day in some cases. What are you looking to get out of this weekend?
For our guys, just looking to see them continue to improve in the areas that we feel are problem areas and areas that they've started to get better in. So that just the things we've been working on in practice and cleaning up those areas, and really just not trying to digress, not seeing them digress is what we want to see. So continuing to wrestle hard, continuing to win the positions that maybe they've been losing or missing out on, like our single leg positions, certain positions that we've been missing that we want to get cleaned up. Just want to see them continue to improve in those positions.
Monarchs open up with Campbell 9 a.m. on Friday morning, Hampton Coliseum. Then they'll finish up with Virginia Tech at 1 p.m. VirginiaDuels.com for all the pairings. Of course, check out ODU sports.com for all the recaps and such. So, Steve, Daryl, thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Show is part of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to MattTalkOnline.com.